All right, so this is a map that we're really just drawn out, and just go with it. It's so we have the globe here. This is representational of the world, and we have people down here that are using devices here, um, and then just got a lot of people around, just doing stuff here and hanging out and using bitcoins and using I don't know what that is. Sorry, using internet access and using technology to communicate. And this communication is really neat because it's kind of going like this, right? And it's kind of bouncing down and allowing people to talk on the cell phones and computer. Let's draw a computer here. Uh, let's get here. And we're gonna put a person right here. Yeah, looking in there and sitting down on his desk. Yeah, just sitting there. And I gotta put some chairs here. There's some wheels there. Yeah, there we go, just like that. I gotta put this on a desk, right? Maybe a cubicle desk, and maybe, yeah, I should give him a sit down or stand up desk. Oh well, I'm gonna do that here. This is a neat desk. Come under, yeah, just like that. Very good. Okay, and you're like wondering like, whoa, what's going on here? It's just some design right there. Yeah, just like that. Okay, so we have this little stick figure going on over here, and basically, this is going through internet connection. It's going through the connection of the network, and then it goes through an internet service provider, and the internet service provider makes that connection and spreads it across the world, across the U.S. With their DNS, and things bounce. Things bounce. They go. And so the networks are really neat because let's go out to the Hawaiian Islands there. Just like that, yeah, something like that, okay? And the world's connecting, and actually these connections are growing more and more and more every day and all the time. And it's beautiful because not only is this happening on, I don't know why they're all just going horizontal, they should go vertical too, right? Um, yeah, maybe it's like the New York area. So whatever these connections, there's millions of them, and I can be drawn all day. So that gives you the idea, okay? But what the cloud is doing, the cloud is providing this mesh for people to connect to, right? And this mesh is really neat because it allows for internet access to be had in terms of storing information, storing your data, storing essentially the network layers, right? There's networks to layers, and then users have their own data. So, we have users of this system, and they use it on different network layers, right? Well, there's uh, the network layers are actually a philosophical understanding of the hardware, but if we want to take it to more of a holistic approach, we can add some layers to that. And I like this because it is essentially, this is not just a internet network connection. This is a human to machine, human to human connections, and that's really cool. Um, so if we look at it from this perspective, um, then we can see that there's some benefits and some gains that the world can can uh, can grow from. And when the world can grow and become more connected, person to person, machine to machine, like processing power. Because what is a machine? Typically, all a machine really is oops, uh, a processor, processing information. So the machine does this is what it does. It processes information, so it is processing, okay, and does storage. It can hold, uh, information. It can hold the information. So storage is good because it can hold a lot, and it's processing, you know, answering questions, trying to solve problems, moving binary code, ones and zeros through the processor. That's really what processing is, and running calculations and mathematical computations. And then storage processing And um, hmm, hmm. Okay, so we're gonna let it float. There's another layer, and we're gonna get back to that here in a second. And so with the cloud is beautiful because of the ability to allow people to store information in the cloud, right? In this, when it's in the cloud, it's not necessarily owned by one particular place, especially when the cloud is decentralized cloud, and it means that the data, the storage has insurance, if you will, that it's going to be there and it can't be taken down um, unless certain security measures are processed, but by the user. So the information cannot be taken down um, by a third party, whether that third party is a hacker, or that third party is a human being, another human being, or that third party is a computer, even a state, or a state or a city or a nation. It's there, it's available, and um, information is extremely powerful, and allows human beings to make better decisions. It can also help, people who don't have good decision making to make not so good at decisions. But that really comes down to the user themselves and really their health. So that's a different issue. The data is not the problem. It's the user and their health, their life. Okay? And through this connection for the user's health and their life, they have better decision making possibilities. Okay, when you're healthier, you have chances are you have better capabilities of making better decisions, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's beautiful. Okay, so the user and the life, there's a connection there. Okay, and then the universe we can talk about later. That's really abstract for right now, but that is there. It's it's wide, it's deep, and it's shallow. If that makes any sense. Um, so let me tell you the range. Electrons, protons, neutrons, atoms, all the way out um, to planets, galaxies, uh, universes. Okay, and then they can break down to layers. What we're seeing is there's multiple layers, and I want this universe to represent layers in your mind. At least for right now, we're going to oversimplify it, but I want this is the key takeaway for this example. And then love. Love of creation, the love of creating things. There's an underlying love in what we do and in what is created, from all the way of exchanging DNA to exchanging bytes of information. If you understand what I mean, my friends. Okay, so this network layer connected with the cloud. It's protected. It has a capability of being separate from individuals, from any one organization, and it's secure. It's a secure cloud. Okay. And there's always going to be a cat and mouse game between the good and evil. It's the war that we live through, but we can approach that war in a different angle. We can create some really magical opportunities. Okay, so we have the machines can do processing, machines can do storage, and that's really all it is. I mean, it's displaying, it's interfacing. Interfacing. Thank you. And I know right now that I have Dave, my computer teacher, just biting at the grind. I love it. Okay, so here, interface. Interface actually interfaces with the user. Okay, so there's a connection here. And the user, we're gonna give him Give me some love, baby. Give me some love. There you go. Thank you. The user, Bob Ross style, baby. Okay. The user is interfacing with the machine, and they typically, users like to use GUI. Okay. So when we approach computers and technology, we should approach it. One great approach, one great angle, and this is an angle I'm going to let you decide how powerful that is when you come from a user perspective, right? You come from a user's perspective. You change the way you build things, okay? And things become a lot more meaningful. So I'm going to break it in, right? How do you pull all this together? Well, users are connecting to these graphical user interface, the machine. The machine is, I'm going to start to announce here, the machine is both in the cloud, both connected to the cloud. It's outside, but it's also localized. There's local aspects to it, okay? And this is where the security connects in. This is where localization is the security mechanism here. I love it. Okay. And it actually gets smarter as the user uses it. This is this is magical. This is the most magical. It's time-tested security, right? It's time-tested security. The security gets smarter and better as the user interfaces with it, and the user is interfacing with their machines. And the machine, the connection, the verification is actually in the cloud, right? So it's not destructed. It's not likely to be taken down by it would have, the whole system would have to shut down. Like learn redundancy, and you'll understand why this is so freaking important. Okay, so the graphical user interface connects with the user, and then with the cloud. The cloud holds information, right? It's processing and is interfacing with GUI, and I'm going to add another layer there too. The cloud interfaces with GUI, the user interfaces with GUI, the machine interfaces with GUI. What does the user is the main driver. We need to focus on who's the main driver from this, and it's the users. If we get it doesn't always have to be this way. It's not actually. There's just, yeah. Anyways, the user in this circumstance or in this situation is the focus of GUI, of this GUI, right? This is the human GUI. We'll call it human GUI. Okay, human GUI. There's basically a couple of areas of human GUI that human GUI has to worry about. Okay, and what this is it's health. This is the human GUI. Health, relationships, data, and assets. Okay. Health. What does health mean? Well, health means a lot. You can make health connections with every single one of these. You can have health of your relationships, health of your data, health of your assets. You can have health of the user, of the person themselves. This is just a tool, okay, to navigate, a compass, if you will, to navigate these quadrants. Okay, we have the health quadrant, health of the user. Okay, health of the relationships that user has. Health of the user in terms of their body. There's new interfaces with mobile devices that allows you to connect your health to your mobile device. with this layer, it collects information over time and allows for this data to be utilized by the user in very open ways. So the health, I'm going to promote that the value of health that we as a user consider is our mental health, our bodily health, right? Our emotional health, and I'm gonna put this in here out too, spiritual health. And I'm gonna let you define what spiritual health is for you, but I'm just gonna put that out there, and you can choose to reject that if you'd like, but I stand to believe, I stand to feel this in myself. Okay, relationships. Relationships of the user. So we're going to focus on the user here. Let me keep that prominent here. The user. And the user, has relationships, social, business, political. There needs to be more people in political, because it's ridiculous. Financial, and family, friends, just social. But I would say maybe more inner circle. Okay. Oh, this would be another one. A good one I think more people need is like mentors. Mentors. Okay, there we go. Fantastic. Okay, so from this, we have many types of relationships, and we're getting into 20 minutes. And from the data perspective, okay, data perspective shows that there's, ones and zeros going everywhere. Ones and zeros, ones and zeros. This is software, essentially. It can be organized in software, right? And we can look at information about our health. We can look at the information about our relationships. We can look at the information about our assets. We can look at the information of our time, because time is always moving. Okay, so time's always moving, and we can segment this time, and we do actually. In between these lines is a cycle, and you can actually, it would have been better to do it on the quadrant basis. Okay, and essentially what's happening is we can scope this in. And we can find patterns. And those patterns, we can actually create patterns too. And this is where data gets valuable. Is we can take electricity and organize it in ways to store information, right? And put it in on our computers, on our mobile phones, on our tablets, in the cloud. Okay? So how does this relate? When you and I log into the computer, and we want to, or not even have to log in, when we are connected with our machines and our smart devices, and we're connected with, connected electronically, and the world is becoming even more connected, and I think for health's sakes we need to do more studying on electromagnetic waves, and figure out like how it affects human beings in a negative or positive way. Maybe it could help people positively, provide energy for them, and consistency, because we know that things tend to synchronize in life. There's always a synchronicity that's happening. Put a bunch of women into a house together and make them live a couple months together, and ask them what happens in their lives, and ask them who is the person that stays the same and everybody synchronizes to them. It'd be the alpha. The alpha. The women synchronize with the alpha female. Okay, so this happens in other places in life too. So one thing that this time thing is going to represent is I want to talk about a relationships category, and I want to really focus in on political right now and socio, and actually we should have turned financial and economic. Economic. There we go. If you can get that. Economic. All right. So, and then social, political, economic. Okay. Really, business it's kind of a mixture, but these can be created by the user. The user can create their own categories. It's up to the user. It's really just up to the user how they want to organize their relationships. Okay, so we're going to talk about social, political, economic. And what happens is we found, not we, like I say, like humanity found. That's why the way I look at things is like we, the humans, uh, and things that are conscious. We found that every 50 years in the United States, and then actually this is more than just the United States, every 50 years there's social, political, economic activity, all right, that escalates. There's an escalation in there, okay? Um, every 50 years, okay? And right now, they found it was in 1870s, 1920s, 1970s, 2020s. Okay, so let's just say this is 2020. That's the height. That's the height, and this was 1970. Okay, that was the height of the United States. Of the United States civil uprisings. Okay, and they typically follow post-war. So we've been in war for a long, long ass time. I'm kind of tired of it. I'm really sick of it. I'm really freaking sick of it. I don't know about you. How many of your brothers or sisters or people that you know came back from the military and they've seen some things that have just terrorized their lives for the rest of their life. I moved to say that as many people that died in the buildings of 9/11, there's more American soldiers that were killed in Iraq and Afghanistan. So who's to say that going to tame them a lesson is going to and terrorize their land, terrorize them people looking for these bad guys essentially. Who's to say that that's not carrying on even more terror? Who's to say that that's not the intention of the terrorists? Oh my goodness, but it's all how we perceive. We're an aggressive country, we're an aggressive nation, we're an aggressive world. We don't have to live in aggression. We don't have to be afraid of each other. Why don't we just look at life and look at the world as a place for human beings to live and thrive, where we have hearts and where we have minds and we have brains and we have relationships and we have things that we care for and we create and there's things that we love. And when are we going to realize that this is human? This is human. We don't have to fight each other. We don't have to take each other's resources. There's an abundance here. There's more than we can freaking possibly imagine. So, back to the game. In 2020, there's an estimated spike that's going to happen with here. Ask anybody around you, and I'm gonna move to ask you, how do you feel about this? Have you been thinking about this too? Have you been thinking about this for how long? Like, what's the news, the media, everything is kind of giving some weird different vibes. But what are you feeling? What are you connecting with? And I think that's what's most important here. And then I challenge you, maybe after this event, I want you to ask your friends and your family and your neighbors and your business partners, like, what do you think is going on in this world? What do you think is happening right now in the United States? Do you like it? Is this where we need to be going? Is this where we need to be heading? Is this what we need to be doing? Is this how we need to be feeling? How do we feel as a society, right? And it's hard to know what that information is because the polls can be politically or monetarily slanted. And so I'm going to move with this system to prove and show that, this slant, this problem that is created by this economic monster, this political monster that is kind of running things here. And I'm gonna move to say, hey, we can get social information that's non-biased, that's real, that's transparent, that's honest, that's open for everybody that wants to give this information. So, for an example, you, the user of GUI, hi GUI, we're GUI, the human user interface, okay? And you're in your GUI and you say, hey, I want to poll for this. I want to give them my information. We're doing a poll. We're trying to figure out to answer this question, how many people support, this or that. And everybody says, hey, I want to release my information to you. So they release the information to the poll. The poll is just a contract. It's in the cloud, okay? Cloud. It's in the cloud, and we're going to call it contract. Okay? And this contract is basically, what it is a place for information to be sent, and it's going to tally it up, and and the digital contract basically sums up all the numbers, puts it out, and then posts it. It does another action. It says, okay, here you go. We're going to post it, right? Post the information. And with this post the information, in the GUI, the user can see the results because they submitted their information and they said, hey, I want to see this information. This is relevant to me. Let me know what these results are. So inside a GUI is like, okay, here, wow, look at these results. Wow, that's so cool, okay? So inside a GUI, the information is just being tallying up, and people can see that it's not slanted by economics. I mean, you probably send out like, $1, $5 for someone to poll, but that's kind of like, really? So inside a GUI, as we're talking about the layers, right? Let me go back here to this paper. We're talking about the layers of the network layers, right? And inside the network layers, I'm going to move to say there is a financial layer being built right now, right? And these financial layers are what I would really want to focus on, because this is where the transition of wealth is going to be. This is where transition from value is being extremely transferred. And I'm going to say, this information, this cloud, the cloud is basically doing this. The cloud's providing connection. It's providing, and in this connection, the cloud's connection is basically providing processing, storage, and interface. Okay? And in those connections, the cloud allows the humans, like I'm not a part of the human race, allows us humans to to connect, right, and give this information securely. And in the cloud, it provides a move to provide it as decentralized. Okay, so then that way, no one thing can break it down. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm more worried about states, countries, than I am about freaking hackers or individual people. It's the states that there's more countries, dude, that stole from gold and valuables from people rather than people stealing from governments. Like, come on, let's really get real here. Like, government is over bloated. Government is inefficient. Government doesn't operate in a way that serves the people. It causes, it's just when you ask people, like, how do you feel about your government, they're fucking scared. Unless you're getting handouts and you're sitting on your couch watching Jerry Springer, smoking the cigarettes, drinking beer, and getting food stamps. Like, I've seen them. I have friends that way, and like I ask and I move them. I'm like, why? And it's like, well, it's easy. I don't have to do anything, and it's a perpetual I don't have to do anything that causes the I don't have to do anything problem. It's a symptom of itself. Don't give it a symptom. You got to give a person, you challenge them, challenge them with love and challenge them by taking away their resources. I got a person that I know I met from walking, and she's on Social Security. This girl is 21 years old. She's a beautiful, beautiful young girl. She's full of energy, and her mom taught her how to be on Social Security, and actually got her on Social Security before she turned 18, and then also got her on food stamps and taught her how to use the system. It's a multi-generational effect, right? We have to change this. We have to change this. And we do it with loving arms. We do it with creating jobs. We got to get rid of this minimum wage bullshit. It's not working. It's not working because it's causing the young guys, the small guys who are trying to do startup businesses who don't have access to capital. We're smart. We're creative. We're light on our feet. We can do things that big corporations take months to do. We can do them in days. We can do them in hours. And we're quick and we're nimble, but we don't have the capital to work at the levels of this minimum wage bullshit. You're making it harder for us. Let's rebuild from within, from the ground up, not from the top down. Just free up the bottom racks. Just let it free up. We're fucking smart. Put a tablet in people's hands, put internet connection, get them connected to the cloud, and let them figure their own shit out. You know what happens? Life changes. Life changes when you put information, valuable information in people's hands. Life changes when you inspire people. Life changes when you motivate them to take action and solve problems in this world. And, you know, the cloud provides this mesh, this protection, this halo, if you will. You know, it's a big halo. It's a big halo. Right? It's connection. It's decentralized. It's impartial. Impartial meaning, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're white or black or brown or red or from Africa or if you're Jewish or if you're Christian or Muslim. It doesn't care if you're bigendered, if you're gay, if you're lesbian, it doesn't matter if you are 5 years old, 10 years old, 1,000 years old. It doesn't matter. We could probably put age restrictions in there if we want to do that. I say leave that up to the parents. Give them access until the child's 18 or have a process. But there has to be structure. I'm not saying there's not. There is structure, but let's be smart about our structure. Let's not use our structure to limit us, to prevent us from growing. And so you ask, how do we create the solution? You ask, how do we move for solution now? How do we got this big bloated brother that doesn't really know what the fuck he's doing, and he's got these big badasses in there called the CIA, the Air Force, the military. They're scary motherfuckers in there. Like, I love my brothers and sisters who are serving in the military, but I'm a little fucking concerned here, yo. Like, you send them over to seas and they come back and they got post-traumatic stress disorder, missing limbs. Like, that affects everybody's lives around them. Like, are you serious? Like, talk about terror. We're polarizing it. We're saying, hey, you little fucking, we're gonna blow some shit up over here. Some stupid ass people. I don't care what or who they were stupid. They did something stupid because they thought, well, they did exactly, maybe they weren't stupid, maybe they're genius, maybe they caused this terror, and this terror went like terrorized everything. And then when it terrorized over here and said, hey, we terrorized, actually it's in the Middle East, sorry, we terrorized this shit, and then we send them back, and then it terrorizes stuff over here. You hear about the stories of soldiers running people over in parking lots, and it happened in my hometown. He just freaked out. Like, come on, yo, let's give some love for and care. Like, let's give some love and care. When we bring them back, keep in touch with them, talk with them, keep them socializing, keep them in a relationship layer with people that they love, the things that love them. Get them a dog, for heaven's sakes, a beautiful dog that's in a pound right now that needs a loving home. You put a dog in a soldier's hands, it's gonna change his life. Put a dog in a soldier's hands and it's going to change his life. When he comes back, show him love. Show him love, it'll change his life. It's going to make his mental health better. It's going to make his body better. He's going to move. He's going to take the dog out for walks. He's going to get him outside. His emotional level is going to be amazing because he's got something to love, cared for. When you have a human being that cares for something else, that loves for something else, something outside of themselves, they're moved for passion. They're moved for love. And the spirit just comes. It comes. It's another layer. And this is the layers. Sorry, I'm a little emotional. And these are the layers. Oh, they're so beautiful. Okay, so the layers are essentially hold-ons. Because everything in this layer here includes this layer here. It's your basic health. It's the health of another layer, of the other layer. And we see this in the rest of our lives. Let me show an example of physical adaptation. Okay, so let's go small like electron. Okay, let's say this is electron right there, right? And then what encompasses, like what is electron? You know, okay, let's start over. It'll be easier going from the other way. Okay, so we got this universe here. Alright, we got this universe out here. We don't even know. It's like, well, right? It's maybe expanding. That's what scientists are kind of saying right now. But inside the universe, let's say, we have the Milky Way galaxy. I know it's not going to fill up this whole thing, but I'm using this for space purposes. Okay, so we got the Milky Way galaxy here, right? And inside the Milky Way galaxy is our solar system. Okay, you're seeing where I'm going with this, don't you? I know you do. Inside our solar system is planet Earth. All right. Inside planet Earth is let's bring it down to you, to the user. Okay, so inside the planet Earth, there's a continent that you're on. Okay, and on this continent, there's a land that you're on, essentially, standing up, and you're in a country. These are kind of invisible layers, actually. This is kind of an invisible layer. These are man-made layer. This one's right here, country. Okay. We'll call that man-made layer. Okay. And inside the country, the state, city, blah blah blah. Now let's get down to the layer of relationships. Like, you're in a community, right? You're in a community of people. In your country, in your state, in your city, right? There's that community layer. Inside the community layer is then the individual people of the community. So let's say you, right? So of you, inside, like, what makes up you? So you got your organs and your body and your bone structure and, like, the physical layer, and then you got the mental layer, right? The mental layer is the layer that you think on, right? It's your thoughts that are moving. It's the untouchable, right? But it's touchable by the physical layer. Okay, so then inside of the thoughts, what makes up the organs of thoughts, and there's tissue, and then from the tissue and the thing, it gets down to another layer, and then the other layer is like electrons, protons, and neutrons, which have made up an atom. So essentially goes out and in, and we can create artificial layers, and we actually are using different layers, but let's look at it from a human perspective. Okay, that is relevant, and these can expand. There's not like any sort of fixed ones, but this is the whole on, and that's what this depth is, right? Okay, so you ask from a user, like, how do you organize this information so a user can easily and efficiently get to it? Well, it comes down to what's important with the user. Okay, and I'm gonna move to say, for the user, for health purposes, that oxygen is very important. Water, okay. Food, nutrition. Okay, those are necessities, right? Well, what if the user could monitor, measure, how much oxygen, what quality of the oxygen they had just by maybe something in their watch that they were wearing, right? What if they could their cup, for example, measured what kind of water they're drinking, what kind of quality, like, and then like the nutrition, like what are the food they, what if they had a fork, and fucking had a sensor in it, it's happening. These already exist. I don't know if fork one does. I just thought of that. So if you want to come up with a cool hardware device, come up with a fork or a spoon or eating utensil that, figures out what's in your food. Okay, so these are important to the user, to the health of the user. And all this information is put in by the user's own behavior, their own health. They don't have to do anything different other than just use the devices. Okay, and then like there's a motion, like so exercise. There's motion. You gotta stay motions. You gotta keep moving, Boom, 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 boom. All right, and then there's inside of motion. There's like thinking, mental practices, like building businesses, like creating concepts, philosophy, that sort of thing. And so you have thinking, right? Mentally thinking. You can create games, right? Let's see how's the health of your thinking lately. Like, why don't you challenge yourself and do thinking exercises and see if your IQ is increasing, you know? So having all this information coming into one place through what we all call, I'm just going to cut it down to the chase right now, API. Okay, so API is input, output, to different data sources, okay? So, in the cloud or hardware devices, let's say hardware. They have API to other accesses in the cloud. And okay. And in this cloud, there's a hardware, the API, right? API connection, making connections with things. It's like it doesn't have to necessarily be structured like this either. It can be structured different. I'm just trying to make sure that you understand the connection. There are connections. Okay. And so we start to see that this has a three-dimensional experience for it. Like normal 2D computing doesn't really work so hot. It can, but 3D is where it's at. And so we got to understand from a user interface, we have more than just keyboards, for our fingers and a mouse, right? We have our eyes. We can where we look, right? We have our brains. There's EEG machines you can program that you put on your brain, your head, and this basically allows us to send commands to the machine based on thinking processes. So I challenge you and move you to think about what it would be like to have a mouse and a keyboard in your hands, but also an input device on your brain, on your head. One on the camera measuring your eye movement, right? So why do you have to move a mouse to click? Why can't you just look at something and blink? Or have a twitch, or have a behavior, right? So why does it have to be, just a two-piece instrument? So I move and I challenge people to question input devices, and what's going to happen is there's just going to be a huge API economy. I'm just going to cut to the chase. How do we connect data with each other? Because once we're able to start connecting data sources, like human evolution is just going to go kabam. We're going to create this shit that's amazing. Well, the problem is it's disruptive, quote unquote, whatever that means. Basically, it just creates efficiencies in the marketplace that force inefficient players out, So, for an example, the banking sector. The banking sector is extremely inefficient for the United States people. The banking sector hasn't done very much other than bad, evil things to the American people, and the American people had to bail out the motherfucking banks, bitches. So, why the fuck are we having inefficient banking systems? And I just Google banks and government and just kind of ponder around and just kind of see what you naturally fall on. And if natural search proves to be somewhat true, and I've connected with people outside of that environment that found the same thing, meaning that there's a little bit of corruption. I don't know, maybe you don't see it, maybe you do, but I believe that there's some corruption going on here, and I stand no longer to deal with this. There is a V for vendetta, and but I say we do this through the power of love, and we do this through the power of intelligence, not animalistic barbarians, right? No longer do we have to fucking go to war. Like, that's fucking bullshit. We can stand up, we can extend our hands and say, hey, let's figure out what our problem is. You need a resource? Like, what resources do you need? Oh, okay, so let's see if we can find those. Like, why can't we help people? Why can't we really get good at being able to support other people, and in our turn, in ourselves, we are also supported. But I'm not saying this is going to be a socialistic environment, or a communistic environment. This is a valuism. It's about giving value and creating value in the world around you. I believe that most people are. I believe the common man is, and especially the middle class, and I believe the upper middle class, and even the lower middle class. Any of the poor who is not on subsidies, I would agree with that as well. They're fighting harder, and they need to be yeah, there's opportunity there to create efficiencies in their life. So the banks, so for an example, have a monopoly on our money, and it's cool to see bitcoins and litecoins and virtual currency, and other cryptocurrencies come out in the marketplace and challenge the American dollar, and challenge the uh, Chinese yen, and the Indian rupee, or the Mexican peso, or heck, even the Filipino peso. So it's really neat to see, like, this true capitalism and a free market, not even capitalism, free market society. And I believe that we're going to see the death of capitalism, and I think is going to transition into valuism, because capitalism was from a win, I'm going to win over you, but capitalism is kind of a win over you, whoever you or it is, or that is you, and then valuism is based on, like, I'm gonna win, and you can win too, but you're not playing the same game typically as I'm playing. But let's say there is a typical game, so how can we both win together? So if you look at, like, um, herds do work together well. So identifying how you can approach problems or scarcity, or whatever scarcity is, if you can approach that scarcity from a different perspective, a different angle, from maybe a bigger consciousness, think outside of the box a little bit, literally, um, and uh, and let's see how we can solve problems. So, but what I challenge is I want to get corruption out of this whole fucking game. I want to get bullshit out of this game, and get straight to the truth. And the truth is amazing. So the truth is, I want it to be easily had, and I want to use it through a measurement tool that is measuring on its own, that's available and open for people to use it. It's transparent. It's this is really cool. So let me show you an example here of, like, this health information, right? Let's just say we collect a bunch of health information, or the user, the person who's using it, let's say you get to collect your own health information. You get to see it, right? So it's only for you, unless you want to share it with other people. It's up to you. Um, and you get to see this and how it's working. And for the people out there in the world, like me, who would want to share this information with the society, with community, say, hey, you don't necessarily know it's mine, but you just know that someone else in the world has, these health conditions or these health experiences. They're consuming this type of water. You're able to see what they're doing, and you can see, results from that, and it collects a lot of information. So the user now, because they have a relationship with you, the society can basically get information, data, right? So it's basically coming up like this, and we're creating a opportunity to see other people's health, if they choose to show it. So, we're going to make this connection here, and the data. Now you get to see that. So now it's a widget, right? Now it's a widget talking about like people's health. Oh, that's really cool. Okay, about let's say you have heart condition or high blood pressure. It's totally common. So if you have high blood pressure and you're eating these things in your your fork and your spoon and your water and your glass, there's measuring what you're consuming, and it's putting it out into your own personal like private cloud. Um, then that allows you to compare your information with other people. The health of our society, the health of of our world, of our health of our planet Earth will definitely benefit from this because it's a valuable tool, and it's connections through APIs, hardware devices, and our own personal private cloud. That's decentralized. Okay, so how do you pay for this decentralized private cloud? Okay, um, this is really cool. We're going to actually move into the asset category. So we decentralize the cloud and let it run by creating a value proposition. And what a value proposition is we're going to say, hey, if you do this, we're going to the community, the relationships, everybody. They say we're going to agree upon this in our contract. That's how we operate in this, our contract. We say, hey, we want to give value. We want to give something to the people, to the machines that are creating the platform, the network, right? And so we found in the Bitcoin industry that you can create miners, right? And you can create a group of miners, right? Oh, big bad miners, raw miners. No, they're good. We love miners. They're workers. They're a workforce. And essentially, the miners are there's a ton of them, right? They're just everywhere. They're all scattered around the world, and they get paid in points, okay, um, or whatever we want to pay them in, but essentially an analytical number. So let's just say points for easy purposes. Units. Let's just say units. They get paid in units. In the Bitcoin industry, miners get paid in bitcoins. Litecoin industry, it's litecoins. Okay, so units for creating the network. Okay, in this network, it's decentralized all around the world, is the mesh, right? It's this that allows all the users to connect so that they can have their own place to store to use processing power. They can pay for processing on demand through like cloud services like Amazon or Rackspace or whatever, Microsoft. Storage, same thing, interface. But actually, we can also do through contracts now in the 2.0 layer, the second layer, the financial layer, is that we can have contracts between people, right? Say, hey, I want to have a contract with you. This is our contract. And it's programmed, right? It's in the cloud. And this contract that we stated, it said, this is what our contract is going to be. And we said, yes, that's what we both agree on. Okay, you sign it? Uh-huh, I sign it, boom. Okay. And now this contract, let's say that it is a contract for, I'm going to put a miner in your house, okay? And I say, hey, this miner is, this machine is going to be in your house, and it's going to run, and it's going to mine coins, right? And I'm going to make sure it's taken care of and do all that good stuff. And you're going to have electricity cost on that, right? So I want your electricity cost because we're going to plug this into a little smart outlet, right? A little device that just plugs in, and then we plug it into the wall. It's going to send a little signal to the contract as an input through API. Okay, API connection. And it says, okay, here we go. These are how much electricity this thing used. And based on this code, this agreement here, it says it's going to check what the cost of electricity is. And it says, hey, this electricity costed $3.30. Okay. Or $33, let's say in a month, whatever, $3.30. Let's just do $1, just for easy math. $3. Okay, for $1 it used electricity. Okay, And for this $1, it's the contract. The contract here says that for that $1 that it costs in electricity, I, who put my miner in your house, have to pay that. Okay, so there's a couple ways I can pay for that. I can send my money to a API connection, an address here. It says here's my $1 for the month, right? Or another cool thing is say, hey, this miner is connected, right, to this, and say, hey, check this out. I mined, X amount of units, and I'll give you, $1 worth of units, or whatever our agreed upon term is. We can set it up however we want. It's totally artistic, totally creative, okay? And you'd be like, okay, cool, totally, right? Well, let's just say, what happens if so that creates a safe proof plan of getting paid from mining materials. But let's just say there wasn't something like a miner to draw value from. Another way to make sure this contract has weight to it is we can both say, hey, we're going to put in this much money into this contract, and if one of us fails to follow through with one of these actions, the contract will give that money over to you for costs or whatever. You can make connections with contracts with other contracts. Contracts with contracts, right? And so contracts can work off of each other. So as the contract network, the contract layer, okay, as the contract layer grows out, it'll become smarter and more aware. And then after the contract layer, I'm going to move to say, this is what I talked about in 2012 for Iowa Uncaucus when Dwala and Reddit put on an event, and I was one of the speakers there. I talked about open source government operating system. Essentially, that's what this is, and it will evolve to this open source government operating system. I'm going to call it OSCO. Okay. I don't want to scare a lot of people, but that's downtime, right? That's just another layer that's going to be created inside of that, but that's through time. We're not there yet. We need to do stuff that can make us money today, but plan for the future. All right. So this is basically this contract layer, but it gets down to the user layer, their health, the relationships that these people have. If we all have better health, we have better relationships, and we can talk about making money here in a second. We have, let's say just the same amount of money, and let's say none of this costed us anything. And then we have the data layer, the information layer, the connection, right? The ability for us to look at information, store information, process information, and retrieve it, obviously, and so there's that interface, right? So we have this ability to calculate. We're using computers and processing power to do really hard calculations for us, and it's feeding us this information when we need it, right when we need it most. Okay, so you ask, like, well, don't I have access to all the information that I need? It's already enough. I already have enough stuff to worry about. And I say, you're right, absolutely. There's too much stuff to worry about, and it's not organized, and it's not methodically put together in a way. It's hardware and technology built on technology. It's not looking at it from a problem standpoint. Apple does a really, really good job. Microsoft does the opposite job. There's the antithesis of solving problems or problem makers. This is kind of a joke. Okay, so anyways, Steve Jobs did an amazing job at communicating that, and when he started putting fonts into Macintosh machines, and but I want to challenge us humans and us developers and entrepreneurs and investors and business people and politicians and family members and moms and dads and brothers and sisters around the world. We're global citizens, whether we like it or not. We can decide to have artificial layers in between us, or we can get rid of our artificial layers. We have artificial layers now, and those are man-made layers, and there's nothing absolutely wrong with being an artificial layer. But I just want you to know that we can take down artificial layers. They are possible, and evolution has shown that it's actually best. So let's look at like other empires and the medieval ages, and let's identify the things that have held us back in the past, and let's get rid of them so we can have a better future, and not a better future for ourselves, but a better future for the following generations that have a serious problem that they're going to inherit. I'm not even talking about the ones born now, but I'm talking about the ones that are coming up a couple generations now from now. So let's be aware of this date, 2020. It's supposed to be the peak of our community's uprisings, and I just want to put a bug in everybody's ear. Let's do the smart thing, and do this, give a lot of this, which is love, right? And let's hug each other, man. Let's care. So we can do this civilly, and we can do this very effectively. And so I'm going to answer your question now. How do we do this? So basically, we just rebuild it. All right, we build we build from this perspective. We built from this approach that I just laid down, this foundation, and we look at creating a world that is it's user centric, and then the next layer it'll grow bigger. But right now it's outside looking in. I want to make it inside looking out. If that makes sense. So we're gonna go from doing this outside looking in. We're gonna do inside looking out. Okay. And this will grow. This will get smarter over time. As we continue to develop, this will get better. This is, like I said, just a framework, a foundation, and it's the values proposition. I call this the values proposition. And really V is not for vendetta. It's really for valuist, and the values proposition. And we're gonna create value for the world, and get rid of corruption and the military complex and murder and all that bad stuff. And we're gonna cut out the corrupt, and we're gonna put in open transparency. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna create a layer of a little layer of difficulty for a while, and we have to be okay with that, because that layer of difficulty is actually challenging us to grow, and that layer of difficulty is indicating that we have space to grow, and if we're just comfortable, then are we growing? And if we don't grow for enough time, if we don't move up the ladder to the next layer, we become stagnant, and that's when people have these crises, and that's when there's problems. So I say, let's not take a reactive approach to 2020. Let's not take a reactive approach to the events that are inevitably going to occur. Let's start making a change today, and let's start thinking about life in a maybe a different limelight, and looking at it from possibilities perspective, and not from a scared, fearful perspective. We've lived in a society of fear for good some time now, and I say, let's waken up. Let's become alive to our environment right in front of us, and let's become alive to the world that we see in front of our eyes, and hear between our ears right now, and paying attention to what is going on inside of us as well as outside. Okay? And let's create devices that help us live in a better life. So we can know from testing, a little sensor that's plugged onto your ear will tell you what your heart rate variability is. It will tell you how much stress your body is under. So what if you had that running on your body, and it says, hey, you're under stress, bro, and you're working on this machine, and like you're just causing problems. It's just something's not working out. You'd say, okay, what's low? Am I low on anything? You check it. Oh, your water's low. Your oxygen's low. You haven't been breathing, yo. You haven't moved around in a while. Like your stress is up. Not only is your body under stress from like not feeding it the proper stuff, but you're trying to force yourself to create an activity, create a result, and your body's like under stress from like not supplying it with the things it needs. So you're not going to get the stuff done you need to get done unless your body, your health is in good order. Otherwise, it's going to be a very restrictive, very hard process. And so let's go from the core out and say, hey, we can fix your health really quickly using this. We're already on social networks that we just connect with their API. That's really simple. Say who you're communicating with, who you're connecting with, and people-wise. What kind of news are you watching? Like how do you feel? What if you switched? What's your emotion of what you're feeling, right? Feeling. Okay. So what if you switched the news? What if you weren't watching this certain type of news, and all of a sudden you say, hey, your health indicators start to go up? Well, what is the things that you changed? It's what you watched, dummy. You watch some scary evil shit that like is may or may not all be true, and may or may not be propaganda, and it puts you in a state of fear. Well, why the fuck don't you think you're like stressed out? You're night eating. You're chewing your fingernails. Like, no, we don't have to live in that way. But now we have an opportunity to say, hey, now we have an opportunity to build something that's truly magical that says, hey, man, you know, the reason why you're stressed out is because of these things. Like, try changing them. If it doesn't work, then maybe it's something different, and then it'll get smarter as it goes on. Okay. The most important thing here is the user always has to have control, or be able to give through contract control of their interface. So that creates, you know, a level of trust. And really, if you look at like how the financial and insurance and systems are set up with like trust like that, like they give a really good framework of how to build this user level, like the GUI, how to build GUI and how to connect GUI and create GUI, um, you know, through the layers. So essentially, trusts are created, and these trusts are like contracts. You know, they can actually be the digital contract, and inside the trust, you know, could say, hey, you know, like if for password protection, if like if you know, this person dies, you know, and hasn't connected in 60 days, you know, or let's say 6 years, you know, this trust is now opened up, and these bitcoins are now delivered. These virtual currencies are now delivered to these accounts that are pre-populated, you know, or is given to this foundation. So like automated trusts. Pretty sweet. I'm gonna call this a digital autonomous contract. Some can call it a digital autonomous corporation. Whatever. Pretty much are the same thing. Okay, it's just agreement between people. It's a relationship. Like we're gonna come to a relationship and have this. All right. So through GUI, this is GUI. The whole paper is GUI, right? The user is looking at it. You're using it. You're the user. You know. So like, how do I get this information, right? It's three-dimensional world, spheres. How do you want to interface with that? What type of, you know, how do you want to see your information? It's manipulatable. It's fungible. It's moldable. It's a piece of clay. It's not hard. Okay, you're creating space. And you're saying, oh, bloop, I want this here, and I want bloop, that there, and hey, I don't even want to use my hands anymore. Bloop, my brain. I'm gonna just think. I want to see. What do I want to see right now? I want to see. You know, what's my health like right now? Oh, I want to add to this. I want to add, you know, this variable and my emotion that I've been, you know, taking track of, and oh, on my alarm, like my sleeping, you know, like sleeping, you know, I have a sleep sensor, and you know, I'm sleeping, and I'm really rolling around, and I'm actually talking in my sleep. What am I saying? You're saying this, and it's saying, oh, I'm just so crazy. I love the way the life is going. I just want to take you with me and show you the future. Come with me now, and you will see a way that we all can be. Life is beautiful and sweet. Just come with me and you will find a way where we get along every single day. And the life of love and the life of no, everybody needs to go. It's assets on our way. For the user has health in his hands. He can share it with the relationships if he wants. Because the APIs allow with rules and restrictions that we can give each other data. All right, so the data can also give us data. Assets, how do we build assets? Miners build value. So let's go back to this story here, you know, assets. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so assets, essentially, miners are rewarded value for chugging along numbers to put together information and calculate. They're really doing calculation. So they can do calculation. right? Let's remember, let's talk about this here. Processing and storage, okay? So calculation, okay? And storage. It can do storage too. You know, it's got to put those storage. It's got to put those put together the contracts, right? It's got to store that information available. So okay, so for calculating doing this storage, we agree the relationships of everybody that's working in this using GUI. We agree that this is rewarded, you know, this much. The value that's being, you know, this is giving value. The miners are giving value because they're allowing the network to exist. They're allowing for the storage to happen, and for that they get rewarded. So they get value. So let's say. Say it's fungible, right? They get a fungi coin. Fungi coin. Fungi coin. Fungible units. Okay, so they get a fungi coin, right? They get whatever. Okay, and basically they do, you know, the calculation or storage. Calculation plus storage, and then the variables could be whatever else. We come up with something else. The interface really is a hardware unit. So like the user themselves, you know, they connect to the cloud through just user password, whatever security measures they want. They can that's a development platform that can be chosen by the user themselves, and people can create their own, and yeah, it just allows for an open environment. So really, you're going to start to see really quickly. This is an open environment. It's open source, totally open source, and but structured open source, just like all software code. Okay, the beautiful thing here also, the way to create assets here in this is like, let's say there's a problem, right? We need to inject value. If there's a problem, like let's say hey, we find a security hole, like we need the security hole fixed, guys, and we say, well, we assess that it's worth this much value to get that fixed. You know, this many units. Let's pay. Let's pay someone in our relationship network. Say, hey, if you build this for us, if you fix this, then we'll give you fungi coin. And everybody's like, okay, what's a fungi coin? How much is it worth? What's that's already preset. So we already know that because that's what we've already agreed on as a community. This is what is happening. We can watch the network. It's working on supply and demand, but it's also structured growth. Okay, and so the users define how much to pay out. So this is a user defined thing. If for some reason that it's not, so the question comes down to, well, what if it's not enough? Then nobody will do it, right? If nobody's going to do it, then they need to increase the price, the value. Obviously, it's going to go up with supply and demand. So it naturally builds in. And it's for the first person to fix it, not the first person to start working on it. So it's actually paying for results only. Okay. Okay, so for this, we're going to call him coding poet. Basically, we can pay coding poets to solve problems. And they get paid with a fungi coin. Okay. So you ask, what's going on with these fungi coins? I'm just using a coin as an example. Just any currency. It can be anything. Fungi coins are nice because they're transferable for fungible units. Okay. Then we're going to take that to, okay, so we have a coding poet. So they're getting rewarded for building on a network. Okay. Open source network. There's also a layer 2 for people to create something and sell it for fungible units. So you can just be an entrepreneur say, hey, I figured something out. We can build this. And I'm going to sell this. I'm going to sell this for the Fungi coin. And for, let's say ones and zeros, let's say data. I don't know, it could be anything. It could be freaking hardware. It could be anything, whatever. And happy customer. Okay, so there's this financial layer that's operating inside of this network, and it's secure and it's protected because the as much as you want by the user's interface, right? So like, let's say for an example, I want my assets to be sitting. I only want maybe $100 on my mobile phone. Maybe $1,000, but I want access to another system, so another gateway for moving larger chunks of money. So you have levels of security, like you probably have different banks, right? Now, and you probably have different vehicles of holding your wealth. For an example, you might have a 401k if you work for a company. You might have your money in the stock market or gold and silver. You might have possess your own gold and silver. You might have cash. You might have money in the bank, money in a life insurance policy, money in whatever vehicle, whatever vessel you have your money in. Like you're able to connect with this through your API network. Okay. So let's say Mint, for an example, it can pull in a bunch of information and say, hey, look at all this. Look, if you would have this credit card, you would save, a percentage and a half a month. Like, you should get this because you'll save a bunch of money. And the users are like, yeah, I'll sign up. I'll save a bunch of money. Mint gets paid for that. Well, now QuickBooks owns them. Yeah. And so what they do is they collect data, right? They collected information that they needed to help their users make better decisions. And if the user was looking for, how do I save money? If they asked the question, how can I save money? Well, this user saved money because of this. They did this. This is what happened. But, people now go on the internet, how do I save money? And what they find is the first ranked SEO website trying to sell something. I know, because I have friends that are ranking there. They have a monetary incentive to manipulate rankings to their financial benefit. Pretty intelligent way of making the universe bend to your will. All right, very cool. So this will actually give user information, user advice, and it's not being filtered through. It's not partial. It's it's just going to give you raw information, right? And so the devices could collect improper information. There's always that. So there's always going to be a want of testing and making more precise. And the system it will always get better. It won't. It just always gets better. And it's user based, right? It's from the user based perspective. How can we grow as a society? How can we grow? How can we have our people be more happy, more healthy? How can we just gotta be smarter, people? Let's just come at this from a different perspective. And so I enjoy this very much, and I can't believe I sat here for an hour and 18 minutes and talked to a white piece of paper and flipped stuff over. But I feel very strongly about this, and there's more to this. And I showed you how you can make money in this network. It's already happening. I'm representing what's already existing in the world, and I'm bringing it together into a graphical user interface that just organizes this information. Now this is, I'm doing something in 3D that on 2D, right? So there's other triggers that are built into this too, other code. For an example, if I look at every time in the morning I go use the restroom and I defecate and the toilet picks up, oh, this is how much of what you got going on in here. This is like, if you have this food, it's not quite processed. Maybe you should chew your food a little more. We picked up some toxins in there. Maybe you should be careful of this. So and then I decide, okay, what is this toxin? I've never seen this. So I pull up my phone and I go to do a search, and it does a search for me. Or what if I say, hey, to my phone, what is that? And that could be indicated because they're connected. My devices are connected because we're together. and it has a memory, and it says, oh, that is, this disease and blah, blah, blah. It's made a correlation based on proximity, usage, and learning. So it's artificially becoming more intelligent. Yes, we're creating the scary stuff in sci-fi television. When I started developing this, I'm like, wait a second, it's the smart grid. But we have to look at it. Let's look at it from a perspective, a single perspective of the user. And if we approach it from this perspective, then we can create something that can actually help human beings live better lives. And if we're living better lives, then I think we're just going to do what the farm did for hunters and gatherers. It freed up people to go learn new crafts, new trade, because they learned how to harness the power of food. Let's learn to harness the power of information to increase our health. To say, hey, have better relationships. The average income of your friends is $75,000 a year. What if you increase that to $250,000 a year? You can just pick different friends. This evidence over time shows that you'll become more wealthy, probably because they gave you some mental tips, maybe some other tips or whatever. But we know that rich people hang with rich people, poor people hang with poor people. So you're at least given, choices, and people are aware of choices that they can make, so they can better their lives. So if you don't have the data to make better choices, then you don't know what you don't know, and when you don't know what you don't know, you're fucked. Unless someone can bring it to your awareness. So why not have a smart GUI bring it to the layer? Say, hey, bro, I love you, man, but hey, you've been feeling sad, and your poop stinks, and your girlfriend's been yelling at you, and you've been stressed out, and fuck, man, you're not making any more money, and depressed, bro. Like, here's a solution. Go find a hobby that makes money. Okay, and tell your girlfriend you love her, but you're gonna say bye for a while, And the girlfriend's like, well, I kind of want him around. I don't know, I'm making up a story here. And so you go start building miners, right? And you're like, oh, you make a little bit more money. So then, hey, now you can get better food. Say, hey, the GUI says, hey, now you finally made some fucking money, bro. Like, you're not a poor ass son of a bitch. Let's make some better decisions with what you're buying. Say, hey, buy this. Oh, buy an oxygen attachment to your watch. And now that oxygen attachment can figure out what your blood oxygen level is and figure out, how many breaths per minute you're taking, how long you're holding in your breath. Okay, and then let's talk about the water, dude. You're not even drinking water, and the water you're drinking is coming right out of taps, full of fluoride and chlorine, and that's like toxic soup, bro. Like, quit drinking that shit. Go get some clean water. And then it looks at your nutrition and says, oh, dude, you gotta increase your nutrition, man. You're eating those McDonald's burgers at the dollar menu, and it's like toxic crap from a factory that they made of plastic. Barbie dolls and right? So okay, you get some better food. You know what's gonna happen? You're gonna start feeling a little bit better. You're gonna have a little bit more energy, and then your body's like, well, hey, you have a little bit more energy. Let's put your ass in motion because you're starting to get fat, bro. So your calories, so you're like, you need to exercise. Now you become stronger, right? Because you're exercising, you're getting good food, you're feeding your body quality, and then you're like, well, my thinking, I need to start figuring out my thinking here, or my feelings, and like, let's get them on, let's start do something with them. And all of a sudden, like, you start to increase the health of yourself because GUI's giving you some recommendations, and sleep is always important. Make sure you're getting your 8 hours or 6 hours or 7 hours of sleep, whatever. But GUI captures that information for you and will help you make better decisions. Okay, so it says, hey, you're not sleeping so well. These are what some other users did that helped them sleep. They have the same blood, type that you have, and they have, the same oxygen consistencies and nutrition. Like, there's a correlation here. Like, this is what they did, and this is actually how they improved. So try this. Oh my God, your life is better. What? And you're smarter. You're smarter too. Okay. Because the system is becoming smarter on its own, right? But you gotta create math. It's just math. You gotta create math. Yeah, I love it. I was never a math guy either. I was an artistic guy. You can tell. Not really. Okay, so that's how GUI gives back. That's how GUI gives value. It says, hey, bro, maybe you need some better mentors. These are some recommended mentors for you from the social network that are willing and open to be a mentor. This is how many people have mentors. Like whatever you want to learn, like, but it's data. It's real information. It's not. It's transparent, open data that connects through APIs. Love it. Thank you for watching. I love you so much. There's more to this. It gets deeper, but this is an hour and a half of me talking, and we're going to leave it at that. Thank you so much. God bless. Have a great day. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. You can reach me on here in message, or you can find me on just reach me here. You can find me on the web too. I don't know, wherever this video is at, you'll probably see me. You can contact me there, and if not, if I don't return your message, then find another place to contact me, because the problem with the internet was I've made so many ways for people to connect with me, and I can't keep them organized, and it's just a pain in the butt, and it's a cluster mess. So this is basically built out of necessity and built out of what I see, and this is my perspective on how we could create a better life for ourselves. Amen.